Hello, welcome to the Service MVP podcast. My name is Joe Crisara, America's Service Sales Coach. Today's episode is going to be a learning lesson, and it's going to be called How to Qualify Your Leads to Put Yourself in the Right Position to Succeed. My friend Rick Picard, who is a $12 million salesperson from Boston, Massachusetts, has sold that much for the last 5 years straight. And when I first met him in 2004, he grew immediately from a $1.8 million salesperson to a 4.3. He went from 4.3 to 6 million, and he's never been under 6 million since 2007. So listen, learn, and be ready to take notes. You're going to want to hear some of these golden nuggets that Rick will give us.
Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast. This is where you go to learn how to use pure motive service to create higher value to grow your results. And now, here is your host, America's Service Sales Coach, Joe Crisara.
All right. So, Rick, why don't you tell me a little bit about some of the most important things in terms of qualifying calls? Let's talk about how to qualify calls the right way that you like to see it done in today's world when you have a opportunity coordinator. So the idea is to create a conversation, not just to collect data. You were starting with that. Could you explain a little bit more on that?
Yeah, that's what the thing. I think the best thing about a grading system, right now we have an opportunity manager who's been working with me for quite a while, and she has a lot of experience, and so she really knows what I'm looking for. But, she's going out on maternity leave soon as she's training a new person. And what I've noticed is it helps the new person understand that she's just not here to gather name and phone number and address. She's really trying to gather information that's going to help us prioritize the customers that have a more important need than someone who doesn't. Almost like the nurse in the emergency room. When clients come in or patients come in, they evaluate the need that they have, so she can make sure she matches the need to the right response, right?
And this goes back to that pure motive service, because a lot of people think qualifying is only done for you, like it's only a selfish thing we do, like we're qualifying people to see what's the best opportunity for us. Go ahead and expand on that a little bit more, because like in an emergency room, they don't qualify patients to see who's best for the hospital. They qualify them to see who needs the most urgent attention, correct?
Right. It's obvious. So if you're going in there with a sliver, and then someone walks in and their arm's half falling off, they're not going to say, well, the guy with the sliver was here first, so you're going to have to go over there and possibly bleed to death, right?
Right.
I mean, if you put it that way, that would be really bad service, right? Wouldn't it? Yeah, better service is saying, excuse me, I know you have a sliver and that's important to me, but right now I have someone who has a life or death situation here, and we have to make sure we reattach his arm. That's what we have to do. So, so it's about a better service to the customer. So when she calls up, let's face it, there are some people that are in the line better than other people in the line. You're a planned service partner, a member. You've been a customer for a long time. All right. Obviously, that's going to gain priority over somebody who's calling us because they can't get a hold of people that they usually deal with, right?
Yeah. So if you look at the different factors, so then you train somebody to listen for the different factors that are in place, and maybe even research some of those factors. That's what we're talking about doing here. So looking at the top thing, so looking at the different factors, urgency is a factor, right? If people are looking to move forward quicker and need to get something done because their mother's coming into town, or that they want to get this done before they go on vacation and they're leaving their kids behind, or whatever it would be, there's an urgent factor for some reason. So urgency is a key factor, correct? Right,
exactly. Or, if a technician goes out there and they have a 20-year-old air conditioning system that we've been servicing, and now it's finally at the point where it doesn't make sense to invest money in a 20-year-old system. It's time to replace it, and they have no air conditioning. And the customer says, listen, I need to get this replaced. I need a quote right away. That's obviously going to take precedent over customers who says, you got the thing running. I want to be preventive. I don't want to wait till this thing to die to replace it. So then, I want to get a price so that when it does break, I know what it's going to cost me, or I want to get a price, or I want to replace this in the off season where I'm not so busy. So, that just customer doesn't demand the same level of service as somebody who has an urgent need where they have no comfort.
So urgent's one thing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Urgency, yep. Urgency, so that urgency is really important, how we gauge that.
And then number two is, you're saying, is the relationship. That's another factor, it's not necessarily number two, but it is a second factor, is the relationship. Is it a planned service customer? Is it somebody who is just a customer who's a loyal customer who's not planned service? Or is it just somebody who's a brand new customer, maybe a new customer who was referred, and maybe a new customer who was never just heard, it's just a marketed lead that came from Google or something like that, right? And so it's all those things. All those things are factors as well. Planned service, loyal customer, but maybe not planned service, maybe a new client who is referred, and maybe a new client who is not referred. That's just a marketed person. Maybe so having an urgent lead with a planned service customer at this point starts to rate a little higher than an urgent need with a new customer from Google or just a marketed lead or a pay-per-click type of thing, right?
Right, exactly. So there's that asset of time. So we want to make sure that the opportunity coordinator understands that she's using that asset that's in a way that's going to provide the best service and the best use of the salesperson's time. Right?
And also the customer's time too, because if you've got the client who's more urgent, you want to make sure you're in front of the people who need the service now more so than in front of customers who are willing to wait for the service later.
Exactly right.
Yep. A third factor I looked at was purchasing history or history of purchasing. So if you do have a loyal client, whether it's a planned service or just a loyal client, the frequency and the history of purchasing is also a factor, I would think, too, right? If you have somebody who, like you used to tell me about clients who every year would have a different property and they would purchase an air conditioning system for you for like 5 years straight, and compared to other people who maybe they've been a loyal client but they never purchased anything. Is that?
Oh, absolutely. I have customers that have 4 or 5 systems in their home, and it seems like every year I got a call. They're all 25 years old, and every year I end up replacing a system. So I got a call. Oh yeah, Rick, we have a customer that last year we went out there and you replaced the master bedroom system. Well, now the main floor system isn't working, and the customer doesn't want to put any more money into it. He just wants to replace that one now as well. I mean, that's obviously a super good lead, right? So we want to make sure we treat that with priority.
How about because one of the things you ask in the qualifying is, would you like to be set up for our special financing before he comes out there? Yeah, if somebody is willingness to finance or to get to pre-qualify for financing, what does that tell you compared to somebody who says, well, no, we'll just see when he gets out here type of thing? Willingness to pre-qualify for financing compared to that. What is that?
It's just another level of commitment. I mean, if they're willing to give out the credit information and be pre-qualified credit, it just shows the seriousness of the buyer and the commitment of the buyer. And so
so if you have a guy who's got an urgent need, who has a planned service program with the company, who has purchased a lot in the past, and also says, yeah, get me set up for the financing before you even set me up out here. If you can get me set up for that financing, that'd be great. You're looking at a pretty primo. It might be an A+ client on that one.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then you're looking at different grades that might bring it down a level. Maybe just an A would be the top 3 without the financing, or maybe you leave the financing in the A, and you'd say somebody who didn't have the history of purchasing but now is willing to finance. That might be an A, just an A lead. So you have to make a decision as what would maintain A.
Right.
And B obviously would probably be something where the urgency is not like today necessary, but maybe in the next couple of weeks, as well as maybe it's not the high history, or maybe the frequency and the willingness to finance, all those things. Is there anything else you guys look for in that aspect of thing when you're grading the best calls? And do they actually provide you a grade, Rick, or do they just give you all the factors?
Yeah, no, they do provide a grade. And the reason they do that, Joe, is, let's face it, it gets certain times of the year we get really booked. And then, so when she gets a call from an A+ lead, and she has to know which one to reschedule, she can look through my calls and say, oh, here's an A+, A, B, C, D. She's obviously going to reschedule the lowest grade. Mm-hmm. So it makes it, it's a lot of people just, I find it unbelievable that they schedule by when people call or when so someone will call with an A and then they'll put them 3 days away because, well, these other people are already on the schedule for a week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's important that the opportunity coordinator can take a look at those grades and be able to say, well, all right, it's easy for me to be able to make a decision about which one to be able to reschedule based on the grade that we've already given the customer.
Would you say that somebody could call today and replace somebody on the schedule if they had a higher grade than the other person who had lower? Like somebody who's saying, yeah, I'm thinking about getting air conditioning next year. Is it okay if you come out today to do this? And if you book that call today, obviously we would do things. Do you teach your people to try to influence people to say, let's come out there next year as opposed to coming out there today? How does that work?
Absolutely. We say to them, my first answer to the first part of that question, Joe, is every day we have people call in that we go there today and reschedule reschedule someone else so we can get to that opportunity sooner. And then if someone calls us, say, wait, we're thinking about doing this in the spring or the fall, we say, well, listen, rebates and credits, the tax credits and financing programs all change. So, we wouldn't want to come out and give you inaccurate information. We find it's best for us to come out for the time that's closest to the time that you're going to be bringing this thing to a completion. So we may make sure that our presentation and our solutions are the most accurate they can be at the time. So do you think you'd be making this decision in September or October?
Mm-hmm.
And then get me there in September, October.
Probably September.
September. All right. So would it be the beginning of September or the middle or the end of September? Which would be more convenient for you?
Probably in the middle.
All right. So how about around the 15th? Is that during the day, an evening, or a weekend? What's best for you? So then we just go on that.
Yeah, I get you. So basically, you're finding out what people want, and then you're trying to move that date as close to as possible.
Right. And you have to make it for their benefit, right?
What's the reason why you give people for that again, Rick?
It's because it's to their benefit. I wouldn't want to give them an estimate or provide them solutions that wouldn't be accurate come spring. I mean, the manufacturers have all kinds of different rebates and programs. The state has different rebate programs. There's all kinds of different financing programs. So if I give them something now, it's only good for 30 days anyway. All right, so I'm going to have to re-quote it again. Doesn't really make sense. So in order for me to be accurate, which therefore is providing better service to the customer, it's better service to the customer to present my presentation or my solutions to them at the closest time they are to bring the thing to a completion. And so, now if you just say, well, we're not coming out there till you're ready, and then this system isn't going to work. You have to understand the benefit to the customer.
Because you're doing it for a selfish reason there, where you're saying, hey, I'm not going to come out there till you're ready, which means that my time is valuable, but yours is not. As opposed to saying, well, here's what we like to do. We like to come out there as close to the time as possible. This way you get the best rebates and the best pricing, because that's the time when you're going to get the best all the benefits that are due to you. And by the way, if I lock you into the price now, it's only good for 30 days anyway, and then the prices may go up before we come out there. We wouldn't want to lie to you about the price being too low, and then all of a sudden you find it's a different price later on. And that's what we don't want to do.
And then we even train them to do one more thing, Joe. We say, well, I know that you're not planning on doing this until September, October, but if there were some special rebates that were going on right now, is definitely something that you don't want to hear about. You definitely want to put this off to the fall.
Yeah, or even say, I remember saying things like, so you definitely want to pay more money in the fall as opposed to getting it done now when you have some special rebates and offers that we have.
Right. And then if they say, yes, we want to wait till the fall, then you can go, we would want this to be accurate, so we're going to be in the fall. Let's say, well, if you had such things going on, we would do it sooner. We find out when we say that, people say, well, you know what, to tell you the truth, I didn't know you would have any capacity to do it now. I thought I had to wait till the fall.
I get you.
Oh no, yeah, we may even do something within 7 days. We may be able to have something like this taken care of. Well, if you could do it within 7 days, well, I'd want you to come out now.
Right, and this all takes training on the part of the coordinator, which is kind of a full-time job, really, where somebody's really engaging.
Oh, it's definitely a full-time job. And like I was saying to you earlier, Joe, I have a girl now who helps me out. She's fantastic. There's no substitute for time. The more she does it, when she calls me up and tells us she has an A+ lead, I believe her. When she calls me up and tells us she has a C lead, I believe her, because she's experienced to know how to ask the right questions in order to get the right information. She's training a new girl now where this grading system is helping her understand that she's just not, as we talked about earlier, taking name, phone number, and address. She's actually part of the sales team helping us get information so we can provide the best service we can to our customer. But it's still going to be a long time before she gets to the point that the regular girl is, right, because she needs experience.
Exactly. And so what is it like for a salesperson before we taught you all this stuff, where you you were just running raw leads. Remember back in the old days when I first met you?
Yeah. Leads would come in, I'd go do it.
How does that impact your sales when people are just throwing crap at the wall? I remember one time it was like a 95-degree day, and you and I were sent to a call about 20 miles away from where we were, and we ran out there, and you were speeding through the forests of Rhode Island, and all of a sudden we got there, and all they wanted was a duct work or a register put in their basement duct.
Right, exactly. Yeah, listen, my asset is time, right? I don't have certain amount of time to be in front of people. So if they can help me coordinate so I'm in front of the right people at the right time, it's obviously going to have a tremendous impact on my success.
Exactly. And has it? Would you say how valuable is that part of it to be able to influence? Now, if a customer, how about this? How about if a customer says, listen, if you don't come out there today, even though I'm not doing it till January or whatever, if you don't come out and give me a ballpark this week, you can forget about my business. Would you still go ahead and book the call and then book it as a D lead or something like that? Just book,
I would
the
still,
call probably, right?
I would still book it. That's why you have a rating system as a D or an F call. And then if I had nothing else going on at that period, then I would go do that because there's a chance I can sway him, right?
Right, because ultimately it's your job as a salesperson. It's your job as a salesperson to say, why are you waiting? What's the reason why?
Right.
To try to use sales techniques to move the thing forward closer.
Right, but the most important thing is I'm not going to substitute an A lead for that F lead.
That's the big thing is to know what an F is compared to an A or what a D is compared to an A, and be able to say, oh my God, I got a good one. Tell the guy who says he wants us out there today or we don't get his business that we're fine with not getting his business.
Right, but it may end up that I'm not doing anything at that time anyway. And how many times have I gone to a job where they told me they weren't going to buy where I walk up with the agreement?
Yeah, how many times? What would you say?
Oh, it happens a lot. I have people telling me all the time, I just want to let you know I'm getting too close, I'm not buying today. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying to them, I thought you told me you weren't buying today. You just gave me a check for $20,000. What happened?
Yeah. I just figured who needs to look around when I found the right guy.
Right, exactly right.
Well, that's all I had then, Rick.
Sometimes when they tell us that I'm buying today, Joe, it's more of a defense mechanism on their part.
Is there anything else you want to add to this in terms of the disqualification thing? I mean, it's a short little thing, but it's good and short, and I think that's fine. Anything else you want to add to it? I like everything you said so far. I think pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered it all.
All right, buddy. Well, then, thanks a lot, and this will help a lot of people. A lot of people are asking me for this, and they're sure going to appreciate your weighing in on it. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Service MVP podcast. Please, if you enjoy this material, go on Facebook and join our Service MVP members group, or just go to servicemvp.com and join us. You'll be happy you did. Goodbye, everybody.